Welcome folks. In this tutorial we will be creating a remote access VPN in a simulated network to both see the process of creating the VPN and obviously to build up to our next lab, which will see us configuring direct access functionality in an IPv only network. Now in our first video we created a lab which would allow us to achieve this task, but a simple lab for this would do. 3 virtual machines would be enough to follow along here. Now our network consists of 2 virtual networks. Now we have a private intranet network referred to as the Corp subnet or the CorpNet, which is a 10.0 network. We have the internet subnet, which is referred to naturally enough as the internet subnet, and that is our 131.105 network. Now to actually see this in action, we are using VMware. And if we look at our virtual network adapters, we have VMnet 15 and we have VMnet 16, which both correlate to the networks that we've just seen. Okay, so the way we've got this set up here is we have our DC1, which is our domain controller, and that is connected to the CorpNet subnet, VMnet 15. We have app server, which is a member server connected to DC1, which is also of course within VMnet 15. We have net server, which is connected solely to the internet, the simulated internet subnet, and we have edge server. Oops, let's bring that back again. We have edge server, which has a network adapter in both of these networks. So the plan is to create some routing on the edge server, which will connect both of these together, both of these subnets together. So at the moment, if we have client 1 connected to our CorpNet domain, then it has full access to DC1 and app server. If we move client 1 out with the CorpNet subnet onto the internet subnet, it can connect to net server, but it has no connection back into our domain. So if you can imagine someone with a laptop on the CorpNet subnet in a business environment, if they take that laptop out onto the internet, they need some way of getting back into their company resources, and this is what we're going to do here. Okay, so on DC1, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Active Directory users and computers. We're going to configure some group and user permissions here. So if we maximize our domain here, and if we go to users, let me just maximize this out just a little bit. Okay, and if we go to RAS and IAS server properties, we're going to add in our user that we created earlier, user 1. And that will allow user 1 remote access privileges. Okay. And we're going to find user 1 here, and we're going to go to the dial-in tab, and we're going to allow access under network access permissions. And that's all we need to do here with Active Directory users and computers. Now over in Edge server, we're going to open up Server Manager, and we're going to install some roles here. So here we go. Add roles and features. Let me just move this up a little bit here. Okay. Okay, so the 2 roles we're going to install is remote access and network policy and access services. Click next and next. So we've got the option of direct access and VPN routing, which we'll use in further tutorials, and also web application proxy, which we might look at later on. But in the meantime, the main one we need is direct access and VPN. Configure all the defaults here and install. Okay, so our roles have been installed. So next thing we need to do here is go to routing and remote access. Expand our server here and right click and configure routing and remote access, and we want remote access VPN. and of course click VPN here. Now you want to choose the network adapter that is on the internet subnet. So you need two network adapters for this, one on the CorpNet, one on the internet subnet. And we're going to automatically detect DHCP, and note we don't want to use this as a proxy, and we are good to go. So the next thing we need to do is configure a DHCP relay. So let's just have a look at that in a second. Okay, so on the routing and remote access console, we right click the DHCP relay agent here and go to properties, and we're going to enter the IP address of our domain controller on DC1, which is 10.0.0.1. We're going to add this here. Okay, so we have successfully configured our DHCP relay here, and now if we go back over to client 1, back onto our client machine here. Okay, so at the moment the client machine is connected to the, well guys, we can see here that our network adapter for client 1 is currently VMnet 15, so that's our CorpNet subnet, and we're going to change it to our internet subnet. Now just before we do, if you have been following along in our first video, you will notice that our VMnet numbers have changed. Just to avoid any confusion, this is due to some lab issues and some video editing issues. So it used to be VMnet 5 and 6, now it's 15 and 16. No issue with that at all. You just choose the VMnet adapter you want. It can be any one. It's the address that you assign to it that reflects what you're going to see. So VMnet 15 is our CorpNet subnet now, and VMnet 16 is our internet subnet. So again, at the moment we're connected into our DC1 client domain, but we're going to change this to VMnet 16, and we're going to see if we can then set it up so that we can get access into our CorpNet domain. Okay, now on client 1, we're going to have a wee look at our command prompt here, and we're going to do some tests. So pinging DC1, we shouldn't get a response. Again, there's no routing set up here, so we're off the CorpNet subnet, so that's what we would expect to see. So if we click down here and we look for network and internet settings, and we're looking now to create our VPN connection here. So we click on VPN, add a VPN connection, and we use the default Windows built-in provider. So the connection name, we're going to call this one Remote Access VPN. Very original. And of course we're going to use the IP address here of our Edge server. So if we just remind ourselves what that is. I clearly have a terrible memory. So 131.105.0.2, which is the IP address of our internet adapter on the Edge server. So down here we're going to put in the administrator details or your user account details. So we gave permissions to our user1 account, and we use our user1 password here. And if everything is correct here, let me just pop in our domain. Okay, so let's see if this is going to work. Okay, so we have connected into our remote VPN. So let's test this and make sure we can now ping DC1. And we can now contact our domain controller. Let's check if we can access the resources on our app server. So this would be, if our app server contained our company intranet, if we were connected to the internet subnet, we can connect to our shared folder here. That's absolutely fine. And let's click check to see if we can connect to our company intranet. And we should see the default IIS services page. So we have connected successfully a VPN. We have a client machine routing through the Edge server into our DC1 domain. So in our next video, we're going to take this one step further and we're going to configure full direct access functionality within this lab. So that's the plan for the next one. Now, for those following along with this particular set of tutorials and labs, we're going to revert our VMs back to our original checkpoint, just so that we can start from scratch on the next video. So we're going to do that just now, and I'm going to show you how we do that right here. Okay, so to revert to checkpoints, we right click each VM, if we can actually get it selected here, and then we go to the snapshot button and we revert to our snapshot, which is the Windows Server 2012 lab snapshot, and that's us. And we do this with all 5 machines, and then of course we start with a clean slate. If you're wondering what we're on about here, if you go to our channel, you'll see our original video, and we created a lab with all these 5 virtual machines so that we can follow along in the future and do as many labs as possible. Okay guys, please subscribe below if you would like to see more of these videos, and just before we go, I'm going to leave you with this classic movie clip, just because I can.
What are those? Those are launch codes.